The Arri Alexa Mini LF is a camera that I've always wanted to shoot on my entire career. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Isaac Leonard. I am a cinematographer and filmmaker, and I make videos talking about why gear matters and how you use it to improve your work. Specifically in my realm, which is cinematography, I love learning about lighting, cameras, lenses, software, anything that allows me to enhance my portfolio and workflow to create better work that will attract clients, brands, and advertisers. As I've advanced in my career, I've shot on a variety of different cameras, but never the Mini LF before. Some of my other favorite cameras I've shot on would be the Arri Alexa Mini, the Sony Venice, the Red Raptor. These are all different higher-end cameras, but I was really drawn to the Mini LF for a variety of reasons. One of them being where I'm located here in Utah, it's actually really hard to rent an Arri in Utah at all. So shout out to my good friends at Enigma Rentals, was able to hook me up with the Mini LF, as well as a set of Atlas Mercuries, which I'll be doing a review on as well. So because the Mini LF is a large format sensor, a lot of times people will shoot anamorphic with it because you have that 3x2 sensor, which means when you stretch it out, you get 16:9 anamorphic. So that's what I chose to do. We shot on the Atlas Mercuries, which are phenomenal lenses. I'm going to be doing a review on those soon. My first day with it, we were shooting outside, and that is when I started to experience the dynamic range. This camera has the best dynamic range I've ever worked with in my life. So some of the advantages that shooting on a Mini LF get you is the incredible color science, the sensor size, the ease of use. As someone who primarily shoots on like Blackmagic and Red, I didn't really understand when people say Arri is super simplistic, and it totally means it. I was a cinematographer for the short film, and it was really great to work with a team of people that were able to pick up the Arri quite easily compared to other cameras, especially Sony, because I have beef with how hard Sony's can be to deal with in terms of the troubleshooting in the menu specifically. I think the Mini is excellent. It's a little bit heavy, obviously, because it's, a cinema camera, and I ended up hand-holding a lot of it without an easy rig. I do think in the future I probably would get an easy rig. There's something about natural handheld footage that even with an easy rig you can't replicate, and so I'm such a huge fan of handheld footage. But overall, it was a phenomenal experience. I really like how the Mini LF is easy to shoot with. The image on the LF is remarkable, but for me, it's more of the workflow. From beginning to end, the easiest camera I've ever worked with in my entire life. The thing that comes to mind when I think of this is like an iPhone. It's that simplistic. It boils everything down to the fundamentals in a way that I think is super powerful and strong, where a lot of cameras overcomplicate things and make things a little bit more annoying. One of my personal favorite things is every part of the camera is customizable. Every single button is customizable. You can spend literally hundreds of hours and make that camera exactly yours, export those settings. The next time you rent the camera, you have your exact settings you were using. I've never really shot with a viewfinder before, and this was the first time I've used a viewfinder that's specifically designed for cinema, and my goodness, that Mini LF viewfinder is the greatest thing I have ever used. I guarantee you that viewfinder made me a better cinematographer in a variety of ways. One of my favorite things about a viewfinder is when you squint your eyes and you're looking through it, it feels like you're in a cinema. It feels like you have no distractions. The only thing that you have to focus on is the black and the image. And to me, that is super powerful. And the reason why that's powerful is it allows me to focus in on my craft, figure out where I want lighting changed, figure out where I want settings changed. You could even have a mode where you have no settings and you just look through that viewfinder and you see your image. That paired with the handheld shooting where you can use the eyepiece as a third degree of contact, beautiful, stunning. So I'm actually now considering trying to find a viewfinder for my Blackmagic kit because I didn't realize how impressive and how important a viewfinder is when doing shoots like this. When you do like a shoulder rig, a viewfinder, by far the best. The Mini LF takes their own proprietary codecs drives, so we were able to get 2 more codecs drives, so we had a total of 4 1 terabytes. We only shot about 3 terabytes of footage, and so it wasn't actually that big of a deal, but the transfer speeds were pretty fast. This is the legit stuff that everyone in Hollywood shoots on. So it was really cool to be able to finally use this camera and find a project that has the budget that can shoot on this camera. Everyone will say this, and I hate when people say that gear doesn't matter, because this little channel is about why gear is important and why gear is fundamental to the way you work. However, I would say all of the projects that I've done leading up to this project, without those skills and that knowledge, the Mini LF would do you nothing. You hand the Mini LF to someone who's never done cinematography before, they're just scared it's $100,000. They're freaking out. But you hand it to someone who has refined their craft, and that little bit of better dynamic range, sharper image quality, LPL lens mount, viewfinder support, all these things add up to make a much better picture, image, quality, distribution, resolution, and experience. And so I think as fun as it is to talk about the Mini LF and to, I was in love with the camera when I was with it. It was seriously love at first sight. I was always shocked that I was shooting on it. I loved every second of it. But when you dissect the camera to its core, in reality, the camera it's just a camera. And it is a tool that allows you to use the highest end lenses in the entire world. It's a tool that allows you to shoot in complete RAW, unrestricted. It's a tool that allows you to shoot in any weather and heat condition. It's a tool that allows you to create. And the Mini LF is awesome and it's phenomenal. And I want every DP ever to shoot on it. Because in my opinion, it's the golden camera. The Mini LF is my favorite camera I have ever used, hands down, in the entire world. And I know they're going to roll out a new one, and they rolled out the 265, and there's always a new camera. But the Arri color science and the Arri image on the Mini LF was just beautiful. And every image I took out of that camera, I was impressed with, not just for the sake of the technicals, but I think because you're on set with such a nice camera, it forces you as a DP to make better work. A few other things that I didn't know before doing this is you obviously need to get insurance. So you need to get insurance for your camera to make sure in case there's any damage that it's covered. Obviously a production company would cover that. I do think some of the downsides of the Mini LF that I don't think are talked about is a few things. One, the stakes of your project increase when the budget increases, obviously. It personally makes me miss smaller productions because smaller productions are more nimble. They're fast, and in some ways they can be more creative because when I'm making a project with, 10 crew members and we're all collaborating versus this giant, chain of command of who talks to who, the big chain of command is fun, but it's not as rewarding, in my opinion, as some of these smaller products I've been a part of. So your scope of your project increases when you have a Mini LF or when you shoot on expensive cameras with budget and all that stuff. Sometimes, I feel bad. Oh, I'm not shooting on my Blackmagic. I own this camera. Why am I renting another camera out for a production? But you realize, for the smaller end projects, this Blackmagic's perfect. For the instances where I need this to match as a B cam or a C cam, this Blackmagic is incredible. One thing that's really important is there are advantages and disadvantages to every piece of gear, and this channel, I hope, is kind of a spot where people can see when you should use one thing over the other. And I think just like how when I got my Blackmagic, I was really excited. I'm now excited to look into mirrorless DSLRs because I want something small and nimble. The same version of that is with cinema cameras. Once you get the Mini LF and once you get the Arri package, you can't just go around the street and shoot because you're either going to need a permit or you need to fake it or all the stuff. Extra costs, extra things that limit you in the way of making stuff. So I really like small cameras now for the reason being you don't have to worry as much. And yeah, so I don't know, this is just kind of a little different kind of video, a little rant, if you will. I loved the Mini LF. I think it is seriously the best camera I've ever used in my entire life. I think working with that image, working with Arri RAW, working with the file sizes, there's a lot of extra costs that are associated when you're shooting a project on a camera that's this big. However, that being said, it's all worth it. And at the end of the day, the image speaks volumes, the experience speaks volumes, and I think every cinematographer should shoot on one. If you liked this little video, stay tuned, and I'll see you next week. Oh my.